The vibration was a small, rude earthquake in the quiet of the room. Rita's hand, which had been idly tracing the edge of a textbook, stilled. She knew it was him. "Step in." A lazy, happy warmth had spread through her just an hour ago after their call. Now a cold, intuitive dread took its place. She picked up the phone. The message glowed on the screen, short, brutal, and devoid of the emojis or pet names that usually peppered their texts. "Rita, this isn't working. I think we both knew it was a mistake. I've met someone. The real thing. It's over. Don't call me." She read it once. Then again, her brain mechanically parsing the syllables as if they were in a foreign language. Mistake. Someone. Real. Over. A strange, detached part of her noted the clinical efficiency of it. No build-up, no discussion. A digital guillotine blade. She placed the phone face down on the table with exaggerated care, as if it were a live grenade. She didn't want to see the words. She wanted to unsee them. She wanted to claw time back by 30 minutes, to the moment before the screen lit up, to a universe where her future still had a shape, a color, a name. But the fabric of that universe was already torn. There was no different waiting for her. This was the new, arid landscape. He loved me in the dark, a sharp, ironic thought sliced through the numbness. But I guess that wasn't the real thing. What performance was that, then? Her gaze drifted to the small shelf above her desk. There, propped up, was the grainy, black-and-white sonogram printout. Next to it lay a simple white picture frame she'd bought on her way home, imagining this first, blurry image as a sacred artifact in their new life together. She stood, her movements slow and dreamlike. She picked up the photo. The tiny, bean-shaped shadow, the little flicker of a heartbeat they'd heard together just days ago. A promise. The sob that tore from her throat was soundless at first, a convulsion of pure rage. With a sudden, violent jerk of her arm, she hurled the frame across the room. It struck the wall with a satisfying crack of splitting plastic and glass, the photo fluttering to the floor like a wounded bird. Then the dam broke. The air rushed back into her lungs in a ragged gasp, and the tears came, hot, furious, and despairing. She fell onto her bed, her body curling around the hollow, aching space where her future had been, and wept until the room grew dark. Morning arrived not as a new beginning, but as a harsh, fluorescent light on the wreckage. Rita awoke still dressed, her face stiff with salt, the events of the previous night solidifying from a nightmare into a cold, inescapable fact. She moved through her small studio apartment like an automaton. Wash face. Brush teeth. Pull on jeans and a sweater. Her reflection in the mirror was a stranger's, pale, hollow-eyed, carved from wax. The hospital. That was the next logical point on this new, grim map. She couldn't have a baby. The list of couldn'ts was short, brutal, and irrefutable. She was in her final year of university. She had no apartment of her own, just this rented room. The promised state housing for young mothers was a mythical creature, spoken of but never seen. A job? The part-time work at the copy shop barely covered her rent and noodles. A child needed a foundation, and she had nothing but shifting sand. She left the apartment, the click of the lock sounding final. The autumn air was crisp, slicing through the thin fabric of her jacket. For the first few blocks, her steps were sharp, purposeful. This is the responsible thing. The only sane choice. Each footfall was a hammer driving the nail of logic deeper. But as she turned onto the longer boulevard that led to the city hospital, her pace began to falter. The adrenaline of decision ebbed, and a heavy, leaden fatigue seeped into her limbs. Her legs, so decisive moments ago, now felt unstable, as if the bones had been replaced with soft, waterlogged clay. How fiercely she had dreamed of this. Not like this, not alone and panicked, but in the warm, golden light of a shared future. A kitchen smelling of cookies and baby powder. A small hand in hers. A man's voice, Stepan's voice, laughing in the next room. The dream had been so vivid it felt like a memory. Now it was just ash on the wind. She stopped walking altogether, her breath coming in shallow puffs that hung in the cold air. Spotting a worn wooden bench tucked under a bare-limbed linden tree, She stumbled toward it and sat down, the weight of her body a sudden, crushing thing. 6 weeks. That's all it was. A cluster of cells, the doctors would say. But she knew. She felt it not as a sickness, but as a presence. A quiet, undeniable otherness taking root inside her. A life, however small, that was already weaving itself into her biology, her future, her story. Rita had no blueprint for family. Her own beginning was a blank page stamped state care. Mother, father, these were theoretical concepts, roles she'd only ever studied from the outside, like an anthropologist observing an alien tribe. Her knowledge came from the cracked spines of library novels, where families were messy and loud and bound by an unshakable, fictional love. The other kids at the orphanage had mocked her for it. Life isn't a book, Rita. People don't love like that. They leave. But she had stubbornly, desperately wanted to believe the books. The alternative was too bleak. Maybe not everyone got the fairy tale, she reasoned. Maybe some people just didn't know how to build it right. She'd even taken out books on psychology, trying to learn the instructions for a happy family as if it were an IKEA manual. With Stepan, she'd thought she'd finally found her co-builder. They would get it right, they hadn't. She leaned her head back against the cold slats of the bench, staring at the gray, indifferent sky. The hospital, with its stark choices, loomed just 15 minutes away. But for now, she couldn't move. The world had shrunk to the cold wood of the bench, the gray sky, and the leaden ache in her chest. Just as she mustered the will to stand, a sharp glint in the yellowing grass by her feet caught her eye, a small, defiant spark in the dull morning. She leaned over. It was a smartphone, sleek and impossibly thin, its dark screen reflecting the skeletal branches above. It looked expensive, the kind of object that belonged in a tailored suit pocket, not nestled in the damp October grass. Duty, a faint echo from a more normal life, nudged her. She picked it up, the glass cool and smooth against her palm. She looked around. The park path was empty save for an elderly couple, arms linked, moving slowly in the distance. Holding the phone, she hurried after them, her shoes crunching on the gravel. "Excuse me," she called out, her voice raspy from disuse and tears. The couple turned, their faces kind and weathered. "Yes, dear. Did you, perhaps, lose a phone? I found it back there on the bench." The old man patted his chest and hip pockets with a practiced motion, producing a sturdy, old-fashioned model. "No, mine's right here. Thank you, though." His wife smiled, her eyes crinkling. "I never bring mine on our walks." "What's the point?" "I have him." She gave her husband's arm an affectionate squeeze. "Oh dear, a lost phone. What a nuisance for the owner. You should try calling the last number, dear. Or the home listing." They nodded in unison, a perfectly synchronized pair, and continued their gentle amble down the path. Rita stood holding the sleek, alien device. Returning to her bench, she pressed the side button. The screen lit up instantly, bathing her face in a cool blue glow. No lock screen, no password prompt. It slid open to a minimalist home screen. Strange, she opened the Contacts app. It was empty. The call log was blank. The message inbox held nothing. It was like a phone fresh from the box, yet clearly used. A ghost device. Frowning, she swiped through the menus. A video app icon caught her eye. Maybe a clue was stored there. She tapped it. A single video file, time-stamped from a few days ago, filled the screen. She pressed play. The video was shaky at first, then stabilized. It showed a breathtaking modern house, all sharp angles, vast glass walls, and pale wood, standing amidst manicured evergreens. A man's voice, warm and proud, spoke from behind the camera. "Well, here it is. The new nest. Isn't it something?" The camera panned smoothly across the facade before swinging around. It settled on a young woman laughing on a sleek, minimalist porch swing. She was dressed in expensive-looking casual wear, her hair artfully tousled. "And this," the man's voice deepened with affection, "is my heart. My Sasha." "Sash, wave to your old man." The girl, Sasha, rolled her eyes with playful exasperation, but broke into a radiant, familiar grin and waved at the camera. Stop it, Dad, you're embarrassing. Rita's blood turned to ice. She dropped the phone. It landed with a soft thud in the grass. She stared at it, her heart hammering against her ribs in a frantic, panicked rhythm. Her breath hitched, coming in short, useless gasps. No. That's not possible. The girl on the screen, the shape of her smile, the arch of her brows, the exact shade of her eyes under the autumn sun. It was her own face. Not a vague resemblance, not a sisterly similarity. It was her. The woman was wearing different clothes, her hair was styled differently, but the features were a perfect, impossible mirror. A low whine escaped Rita's lips. She squeezed her eyes shut, willing the image away. Stress. Grief. Hallucination. She was cracking under the pressure. After a minute of measured, deliberate breathing, she forced her eyes open and picked up the phone again with trembling fingers. She played the video. Then again. And a third time. Each viewing hammered the truth deeper. The girl laughed. She teased her father. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, a gesture Rita herself made constantly. It was her. And it was impossible. The impossible phone burned in her pocket like a stolen secret the entire way to Alya's apartment. The planned trip to the hospital had evaporated, replaced by a more immediate, terrifying need for verification. Was she losing her mind? The clean, surgical logic of terminating a pregnancy was now tangled in this surreal, digital doppelganger. Alya lived in a new, blandly chic building her parents had gifted her. Rita's finger hovered over the intercom buzzer, a fresh wave of hesitation crashing over her. Alya was her closest friend, but she was also his sister. The connection felt dangerous, tainted. Yet, who else was there? The circle of people she trusted with her crumbling world consisted of exactly one. She buzzed. After a long moment, the lock clicked open. Rita took the elevator up, her reflection in the mirrored walls looking ghostly. Alya was waiting at her door, wrapped in a fluffy pink robe, her hair a chaotic nest. She blinked bleary, mascara-smudged eyes. Rita? What's going on? It's barely 9. A huge yawn overtook her. Did something happen? Wow. You look terrible. Alya, I need you to look at something, Rita said, her voice thin and urgent. She pushed past her friend into the warm, scented clutter of the apartment. I don't understand it. Alya followed, her sleepiness giving way to concern. She closed the door. Okay. You're scaring me. You're white as milk. Is it Stepan? Did that idiot do something? It's not about Stepan. Well, it is, but just look. Rita pulled the phone from her pocket, her hands unsteady. She navigated to the video, her heart pounding. I found this. In the park. I wanted to return it, but... She thrust the screen toward Alya. Her friend took the phone, squinting at it. The video played. Rita watched Alya's face, searching for the same shock, the same disbelief. Alya's brow furrowed in confusion. Then her eyes widened. She looked sharply from the screen to Rita's face and back again. She jabbed the replay button. Holy, Rita, that's you. Her voice was flat with astonishment. She stared at her friend. What is this? Some kind of prank? Is this a filter? Did you film this? No. The word burst out of Rita, laced with frustration and fear. Of course I didn't. I found it. I told you. The girl's name is Sasha. That's her dad's house. It's not me. Alya watched the video a third time, her analytical mind kicking in. But it is you. I mean, it's your face. Your laugh. Your stupid little nose wrinkle thing when you smile. How's this possible? I don't know. Rita sank onto Alya's plush sofa, burying her face in her hands. I thought I was hallucinating. I was hoping you'd look and tell me I'd finally cracked. That it was the stress. But you see it too. I see it, Alya confirmed quietly, sitting down beside her. She was fully awake now, her eyes bright with a detective's zeal. Okay, so, this is insane. But it's also a clue. A really, really big clue. A clue to what? To you, dummy. Alya grabbed her own laptop from the coffee table. You're an orphan, right? No records, no family. What What if you have a twin? A sister? A sister who lives in a palace and is named Sasha? Rita's laugh was hollow. Alia, that's a soap opera plot. Maybe, but the phone is real. The video is real. Alia's fingers were already flying over the keyboard. The house is the key. Let's find the house. She paused the video on the best shot of the modern mansion, its sharp geometry unmistakable. She used a reverse image search, cross-referenced with descriptions of new luxury developments outside the city. Rita watched, a knot of anxiety and bizarre hope tightening in her stomach. Gotcha, Alia whispered 10 minutes later, her voice triumphant. She spun the laptop around. On the screen was a real estate listing for an architectural marvel. The caption read, "The Sokolov Estate." A masterpiece of modern design in the exclusive Silver Pines enclave. Sokolov, Alia breathed. She did a quick search. The results were sparse, but telling. Dmitry Sokolov. Automotive magnate. Low profile. Reclusive since his wife died years ago. One daughter, Alexandra. Kept out of the press. She looked at Rita, her eyes wide. Alexandra. Sasha. That's her. The air left Rita's lungs. It was one thing to see a strange video. It was another to have names, a title, a context. A real person with her face. So what? Rita whispered. What does this change? He's some rich hermit. I'm me. It's a crazy coincidence. Coincidence. Alia stood up, energized. Rita, open your eyes. What if you're not just some orphan? What if you're her? What if you're Alexandra Sokolov? What if you were stolen or lost or... I don't know. Something happened. You've read too many thrillers, Rita said weakly, but the idea, once voiced, took root with terrifying speed. It was absurd. It was impossible. And yet, we have to go there, Alia declared. What? No. Are you insane? We can't just show up at a billionaire's house. We're returning his very expensive, lost phone, Alia said, her logic impeccable. That's a good deed. And then, we'll see. Don't you want to know? Don't you want to look her in the eye? The question hung between them. Rita thought of the blank space where her history should be. She thought of the girl on the swing with her father's proud, loving voice behind the camera. A life that seemed plucked from one of her orphanage daydreams. Fear and a desperate, clawing curiosity warred inside her. The hospital, her pregnancy, Stepan's betrayal, all of it receded, momentarily eclipsed by this monumental, personal mystery. Okay, Rita heard herself say, the words sounding distant and not quite her own. We'll return the phone. The journey was a blur of nervous silence and jarring transitions. The sleek city bus gave way to a rattling minibus, which deposited them at a lonely stop on the highway's edge. Before them stretched a pristine, tree-lined road guarded by a high, ornamental fence and a discreet granite plaque, Silver Pines. Private community. Alia marched forward with a confidence Rita didn't feel. Her own legs were wooden, every step fueled by a mix of dread and wild, improbable hope. The air here smelled different, clean and pine-scented, untouched by exhaust or the damp concrete of the city. As they approached the imposing security gate, a uniformed guard emerged from a sleek, glass booth. Rita's heart slammed against her ribs. This was it. They'd be turned away, questioned, humiliated. The guard, a man in his 40s with a bored expression, glanced at them. Then he did a double-take, his eyes locking on Rita. A professional, practiced smile replaced his indifference. Good morning, Alexandra. Taking a walk today? Didn't see you leave. The words, so casual, so certain, stole the breath from Rita's lungs. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Alia's elbow connected sharply with her ribs. Yes, a walk. Fresh air, Alia chirped, her voice too bright. She hooked her arm through Rita's rigid one and propelled her forward through the already opening gate. They were in. The guard watched them go, a faint frown creasing his brow as they took the path leading away from the obvious, central cluster of mansions. He shrugged and retreated to his booth. Inside the enclave, the scale of wealth was disorienting. Each house was a secluded fortress of glass and steel, set acres apart, hidden by artful landscaping. There were no street signs, only winding, perfect asphalt lanes. Which way? Alia hissed, the bravado seeping from her voice. They all looked the same. The video. The house was near tall, pointed evergreens. Like those, Rita whispered, pointing with a trembling finger toward a dense copse of blue spruces. They followed the hunch, their shoes making soft, intrusive sounds on the quiet road. It took nearly an hour of wrong turns and dead ends before they saw it. At the end of a long, maple-lined driveway, the house from the video materialized. It was even more striking in person, a geometric sculpture of light and shadow, both beautiful and utterly intimidating. They stood at the foot of the driveway, dwarfed by the scale of it. The intercom panel by the imposing gate looked like a control for a spaceship. "Ring it," Rita breathed, clutching the phone in her pocket like a talisman. "You ring it," Alya shot back, suddenly looking very young and scared. "You're the one with the plan." Muttering, Alya reached out and pressed the button. A camera above it whirred softly, focusing on them. A young male voice, filtered through the speaker, was sharp. "Yes? State your business." Alya cleared her throat. Hello. We found a phone. We believe it belongs to the residents of this house. We'd like to return it." A pause. The camera seemed to zoom. Then the voice again, noticeably different, confused, almost hesitant. "Alexandra? I didn't recognize you from the angle. Is everything all right? I thought you were inside." Rita felt the world tilt. She forced her voice to work. "Alexandra is inside. My name is Rita. May we speak with Mr. Sokolov, please?" The silence from the intercom was long and profound. They heard muffled, agitated conversation in the background. Then the voice returned, formal and tense. "Please wait." Minutes stretched, each second an eternity. The fear returned, cold and slick. What if he's dangerous? What if we're trespassing and they call the police? Rita's hand drifted protectively to her stomach. Then a low hum. The massive wrought iron gate began to swing inward, smooth and silent. They looked at each other, their earlier bravado completely gone. There was no going back. Step by hesitant step, they walked up the immaculate driveway. Before they reached the grand front door, it opened. A man stepped out. He was in his late 40s, tall, with an air of tense authority that wasn't quite masked by his simple sweater and trousers. His gaze swept over them, landing on Rita. His eyes, a sharp, intelligent gray, widened. All the color drained from his face. He looked as if he'd seen a ghost. And then, a burst of movement from behind him. "Dad, who is it? You said no meetings at home on S." A young woman slid to a stop in the doorway, peering around her father's shoulder. She was dressed in designer loungewear, her hair in a messy but elegant bun. She was mid-sentence, a playful complaint on her lips. The words died. She was looking at Rita. Rita was looking at her. Time didn't stop. It shattered. The young woman in the doorway, Alexandra, Sasha, wasn't just a resemblance in a video. She was a living, breathing mirror. The same arch of the eyebrows, the same exact curve of the lip, the same subtle, almost imperceptible chip on the same front tooth. Every tiny, familiar detail Rita knew from her own reflection was there, animated on another's face, staring back at her with identical, stunned horror. It was a silent, profound collision. No one moved. No one spoke. The only sound was the distant call of a crow and the frantic, echoing rhythm of two hearts beating in perfect, terrified unison.